Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the third and unfortunately last session of this webinar series, Harnessing Digital Solution for Financial Success, launched by ITC SheTrades and Visa. And so first of all, let us know where you're connecting from. Write down in the chat box your name, your country of where you're based, and as well as the name of your business. Let's see what is our audience today. We have a lot of people joining. We have people from Jordan, Malawi, Nigeria, Kenya. As always, a very rich audience. Bangladesh, Serbia, Philippines. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Okay. Now, before diving into the core of our webinar, we would like to ask you all a question. So which type of funding are you looking for your business? Or what are the solutions that you used so far? What was the main source of funding? Let us know. You can join the Slido using slido.com and inserting the code, or you can just scan the QR code that you can see on the screen. I see participants are typing. We have growth funding, credit, funding for capital equipment. Okay, growth funding is getting more and more popularity. Grant seed funding, equity.
I see as well in the chat what debt, grants, family and friends
funding. Okay. Loans. Okay, that's a good start for our session. In today's session, we're going to learn from our expert a lot about which sources are there available and how we can make our business investment ready. So we're in a good spot here. Let's go ahead. Let me go very quickly through some housekeeping rules as well as the agenda of the session. So first of all, I would like to renew a big welcome to everyone. You've been very consistent throughout this webinar series, and both at ITC and Visa, we really want to share a big thank you for that. We're glad you appreciated our content and this initiative. So we really hope you enjoy also this session. And concerning some rules for the session, same as last time, I really invite everyone to keep your microphone muted for now to ensure a smooth proceeding of the webinar. And also, please keep your camera off to maximize the connection and avoid disruptions due to low internet. And if you have any questions or comment at any time, you can use your chat box. We will all, both from ITC and Visa, we will all try to answer your questions, and our speakers as well have colleagues from their teams to support with answering your questions. So first of all, we're going to start with sharing a little bit of information about ITC, what we do, about the SheTrades initiative, and our collaboration with Visa. Then we're going to share an overview of the series. I think by now you're all familiar, but I know there are some people that might be joining now for the first time. So we're going to have an overview about that. Then Pat will share some remarks, some welcome remarks, and we're gonna be introducing our dear speakers for today. After that, we finally dive into the very core of the session, and we're gonna learn about how to navigate the path to capital. And finally, we will have around 10 to 15 minutes of a Q&A session in which you can really interact with our speakers and really share all of the questions you might have, the challenges you encountered, and you can really profit for this moment with experts. Finally, we will have a quick moment to gather some immediate feedback from you through some polls. And at the very end, we've been anticipating this moment like since the very first session, but finally it arrived. We're gonna explain more about the mentorship opportunity. I don't want to spoil too much. Liz is gonna talk extensively about this, and after that, we're gonna have to say goodbye for this series. Okay. Now, I won't hold you further. Let me open the floor to my colleague Liz, who will share a bit more. Thank you.
Good morning and good afternoon, depending where you're joining us from. I see people from all over the world. Just this quick slide to introduce you to the ITC SheTrades team that has made this series visible. We have Kriti Sharma, who is our partnership lead based in headquarters with Valentina and myself. She sends her regards and she really hopes that you have been enjoying this webinar series, learning a lot and looking forward for the mentorship opportunity. Myself, Lisbeth Becerra, I coordinate activities on access to finance and manage the partnership that we have with Visa in Asia Pacific. And we have our very own amazing moderator for today, Valentina Saponara, who works in implementation and communications. Next, please. For those of you who may be joining for the first time, just this webinar series, let me just give you a quick recap of what ITC SheTrades is. The International Trade Center, ITC, stands for International Trade Organization, which is a joint organization of the United Nations and the World Trade Organization, with our mandate to support the competitiveness and internationalization of small businesses. And within ITC in 2015, we launched a flagship initiative on women in trade, better known as SheTrades, with the aim of supporting competitiveness and internationalization of women-led SMEs. We work very closely with partners along global value chains, business support institutions, policymakers to foster for a fairer and more sustainable global economy, and of course, having women entrepreneurs at the core of our work, supporting women with knowledge, with resources, with networks, with information such as this webinar series, and as well supporting policymakers, mainstreaming gender into trade policies. Next, please. Well, as mentioned, we work very closely with partners around the globe to amplify our impact and to reach more women entrepreneurs and to better support you. And a key partner of SheTrades to advance women in trade agenda has been Visa. We started a very impactful collaboration last year to advance economic empowerment of women across Asia and the Gulf. And we work with 4 pillars of collaboration, advocating for increased participation of women in the digital economy, enriching skills development content on the SheTrades platform. So you will be able to see, if you log in into our accounts, trainings that are not available and brought in through the partnership that we have with Visa, providing as well tailored technical assistance. We have had workshops on site in the Philippines and as well in Gulf regions, and as well improving market and financial access for women. And well, Visa's extensive expertise in financial services and their very unwavering commitment to digital inclusion are invaluable for this partnership. And together we are creating a comprehensive support system to ensure that you have an information on how to access essential digital tools and financial services that are needed into thriving in today's competitive business landscape. And this is a little bit how the webinar series came up to life. Next, please. So this is a webinar series that you're in, that today is the last but the beginning of a new chapter, the mentorship that we will be sharing more about. For us, this webinar series has been way more than just a webinar series. It represents a step forward in our partnership to provide you with information, with knowledge, and also create a space where you can connect through this chat to get to know each other and to support you on how women entrepreneurs can better participate in digital economies and inherit your business competitive with digital financial tools. So we started this month early in the month with a session on effective financial planning. Last week we dived deep into digital solution for small businesses, and today I'll say one of the topic that was top on the list of priorities for you when we raised a survey, navigating the path to capital. So this webinar is very special for us. And through the partnership with Visa, we have invited top women leaders in the finance space that will be sharing with you about credit and access to investment. And also very special for us, this webinar, we will be launching the call for applications to receive mentorship from Visa experts. So hold on until the end of the series to find out more. And well, before we start the session on navigating to capital, I'll like to give the floor to a women leader who has been pushing this initiative from Visa. So this is Tatian Lowe, Vice President of Inclusive Impact and Sustainability. The floor is all yours, Pat.
Thank you so much, Liz, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our friends that have dialed in online. I do see actually from the names that have been showing up among the audience that we have a fair number of repeat participants, which is really exciting. So thank you all for your support. I am based in Singapore. My name is Pat Sian. Please call me Pat. And I am the head for Inclusive Impact and Sustainability for Asia Pacific for Visa. Even though I'm based in Singapore and my portfolio is for this region, Asia Pacific, I know that the challenges that we've been seeing among women entrepreneurs raising funding and capital for their growth is not unique only to this region. Around the world, we are definitely seeing that women entrepreneurs are not getting nearly as much access to capital as when running their businesses as do male founders. And the amount of capital that's made available also is only a fraction of what is made available to the startup and small business environment at large. So we know that there is a big gap to close in terms of the capital that will be provided to women-run businesses. And it cannot be closed without understanding how capital is going to be offered and in what way will it reach women and women entrepreneurs. It also cannot be closed if women entrepreneurs are not sure or clear about what kind of capital they may need and how they may use it. So when we started out this webinar series, we had a first two very good sessions around what are some of the important financial planning skills that entrepreneurs need to have to grow their business. And then we go further to understand in what way will digitalization and digital solutions will help you grow your business. And now we talk about what kind of capital you may need in this future digital economy to grow your business. So I think we have an exciting panel of speakers lined up, both also women leaders and both representing organizations that have worked with Visa over the last few years so that we can jointly drive more capital towards women entrepreneurs and really help us achieve what we think is a common purpose among all of us, which is that we can uplift everyone everywhere to be more deeply involved in the digital economy. So thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you again, ITC, for your partnership, and my advanced thanks to our speakers for what they're going to share today. And I really very much look forward to seeing you continuing to engage with what Visa and ITC is offering in the coming months. Thank you very much.
Pat, thank you so much for such an inspiring message. I would like now to introduce our speakers for today. But first, a big thank you to Visa for inviting them and for introducing all of us to Kalpana and Libe and for allowing us to access their knowledge. Again, in this session, we have top experts in the finance space, and we really hope everyone can benefit from the knowledge that they will share. So first of all, we have Ms. Kalpana Ajayan. She's a regional head of South Asia at Women's World Banking. She comes with 25 plus years of experience in financial services, in retail banking and insurance. She has worked in organizations like Citibank, HSBC, Edelweiss Financial Services, and she covered various roles across functions. In these roles, she was managing strategies, taking care of sales and distribution, HR, and customer experience. She has developed a keen understanding of customer centricity and approaching solutions through the customer lens. She has also spent time in HR function and has a deep experience in building and supporting leadership development. Kalpana is passionate about supporting women's empowerment, and in an individual capacity, she is a certified mental health counselor to low-income women and an advisor to key not-for-profits in India. She also sits on the board of a women-focused fintech company to shape their strategy. Kalpana, thanks very much for joining us today. We also have with us Ms. Libe Janot. Libe is a gender lens investor and impact investment professional with extensive experience in venture capital, impact investing, and private client wealth management with companies including Akazi Capital, Responsibility AG, and BMO Private Banking. Her career has always focused on having impact at its core, and she's passionate about transformative finance, entrepreneurship, and technology. At 2X Global, Libe leads initiative to advance gender-smart investing standards. She is a CFA charter holder and has lived and worked in Africa, North America, Asia, and the Middle East. A renewed big thank you to both experts for joining us and really sharing their expertise. Now, I'll leave it to Kalpana for her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction, Valentina, and thank you, ITC and Visa, for this opportunity to address the passionate women entrepreneurs who've logged in today. This is something that is very close to our hearts in Women's World Banking as we work with women entrepreneurs, nano, micro, small entrepreneurs around the world. As explained, the topic that we are looking at today is navigating the path to capital, because we know that path is strewn with a whole bunch of obstacles. And so really, how do we navigate this path? And the capital, the type of capital, and we know that there are different types of capital. The type of capital that that I'd be focusing on is credit. Yeah. Moving on, I'd like to start off with the first slide, which is really a quiz, and I encourage people to put in their answers in the chat. This is a shocking statistic. Maybe I'm giving away just by making this statement, but really the number of women who lack access to formal financial services, and this could be any kind of formal financial service, could be a savings account, payment, insurance. What do we believe the size to be? You can put your answers. And while, okay, there are quite a lot of people that started to put that answer. While we wait for those, I guess we could jump on to the next slide and reveal the answer. It is close to 1 billion women. So really, billion women in this, which is, if it was a continent, it would be the third largest continent in the world. 1 billion women actually lack access to formal financial products. And even at the subsegment of women that actually have access, the percentage of women that actually use the bank account or use the formal financial services is actually far less. Thereby clearly showing the challenge that that women face as individuals. And we'll move on to the next one, where we also know about as women face as entrepreneurs as well. Can we move on to the next one? Do we understand the size that we as women entrepreneurs represent in the formal business sector? How big are we? How large are we in the, yeah, okay. People have understood and started typing the answers. Yeah, okay. Typical answers coming through, but I guess we don't have the time to wait for a lot more. Maybe we should move on to the next one. The answer is actually 30%. 30% of the total small, medium, and large enterprises worldwide are women owned. Now, this is something that we should take pride in, isn't it? This is not a number to be sneezed at. This is a substantial number. However, fact remains that 70% of the women-owned small businesses lack access to finance, and I think I'm preaching to the converted, because that's possibly why you're all here as well, because this is a genuine challenge for most of us. The study that was done by IFC couple of years ago puts the size of the credit gap to be about 1.7 trillion. Now, why is this important to know? Because what I want to underline here is that women, and all of you here, are a phenomenally attractive community for financial institutions to lend. And in fact, at Women's World Banking, that is what we actually keep talking when we interact with all these financial institutions. We work with all kinds of financial institutions, small and large. Could be large banks, it could be fintechs, it could be MFIs. But what we try to tell them is that where the business case of lending to women, small, medium entrepreneurs, that is not to be overlooked. It is not just because it's a good thing to do. It's a CSR activity to probably encourage women entrepreneurs. No, it actually makes business sense to lend to women entrepreneurs. That's the point that we try to make, and that's what I wanted to bring out in this slide as well. Moving on. However, if we form such a significant opportunity size, why is it? And these are real challenges that women-led MSCs have to manage and grow their business. We are, of course, today discussing access to finance, but equally access to market, digital inclusion, human social capital. These are all significant challenges that women-led micro-enterprises face. And I'm sure a whole bunch of it resonates with a whole bunch of you in this call today. Can we just go on to the next slide, please? One particular one, and given that the focus of ITC Visa series is digital, we all know that women use mobile phones to actually, connect to the digital space. And if you were to just look at the statistics of women-led MSCs and how they use their mobile phones, you can see the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. There's a clear usage gap for women-led MSCs. So one is the gap in terms of mobile phone and usage, but equally the other, and that's the point that we're going to cover off, is that even if you did have a smartphone, there's several barriers that actually come in the way of women actually using, the smartphone to do her business. And that could be anything from a lack of confidence to safety, security concerns, and not knowing the use case in terms of how that was actually going to help her build a business. These are some of the issues that we have been working with in several parts of the world when we work with predominantly nano micro entrepreneurs. Moving on. The topic at hand, the access to credit, the sources of credit. Clearly, just a single slide. This answer actually came from the question that Valentina asked right at the beginning in terms of, what are the kind of funds, what are the kind of credit that you use? And so I don't think it should come as a surprise to any of you. So, we start off with self, friends, the immediate circle. But I think what is also very important, and banks, everybody understands formal, big presence, everybody is aware of that. But I also think it's important when we look at sources of credit to consider government programs and schemes as well, because there are several initiatives in multiple geographies where the government actually provides affordable credit And so having knowledge about these programs and schemes is only going to be an advantage for us as women entrepreneurs. As far as other sources of credit, we could talk about non-banking financial companies like your credit unions, your savings and loans. I mean, depending on which geography you are in, these are the kind of institutions that are also make credit available to you. Not to mention the ubiquitous digital presence of internet banks and digital credit companies. We just have apps, don't have a brick and mortar presence, that offer credit. And last but not the least, something that I'm sure every one of our women entrepreneurs is familiar with are MFIs, the microfinance institutions. Really, they've been the ones that have nurtured the self-help group and the individual entrepreneur, ecosystem for years and years and years. And so they're important to the whole scheme of micro nano entrepreneurs. Moving on. I think this question has already been answered. So, I think we could skip this, and move on to the next one. And so we understand, of course, that credit is essential, not just to, to start the business, but equally to expand and improve. And that came through even in the answers earlier, where there were quite a lot of people that were asking for growth capital. Yeah. Now let's jump into the subject and, what is it that we need to cover off today? Could we move on to the next slide, please? So we have to get credit to grow your business. I think there are two important parts that go. One is how do you access credit? And the second bit is after getting that credit, how do you actually manage credit? Because that becomes then very crucial for you to get access to further credit in the journey of growth. The third piece is also to understand, and can we move on to the next slide? The third piece, of course, is also to understand about productive credit. And here we need to make a distinction between productive credit and non-productive credit because, productive credit, as the name suggests, is credit that we use for managing our business, to ensure that we have a better market presence. We have, upscale our infrastructure, etc. And unproductive credit, of course, is things like buying a fridge at home or refrigerator at home or taking a personal loan or using your credit card to buy personal consumption products, right? So important to distinguish because what we are covering off is the productive credit piece. Yeah. Moving on to the next one. How to access credit. So I'd have about next 3 or 4 slides about how to access credit and the process. This is something that you're probably already doing, but I felt it was necessary to build a framework so that we have a checklist when we actually approach financial institutions, for capital, for need, for credit. So the first, of course, is the formalization. For us to enter the formal financial system, we need to ensure that we have formal identification papers, right? So be it your ID, be it your business registration, all of this is very critical. All of this is important. How do we ensure that we all have it in place? We know that there, sometimes it is convenient to be a informal organization, just and not register our business. In our research, in many geographies, there is also the fear about coming into the lens of authorities and not wanting to attract, and therefore I prefer to be informal, etc. These are the kind of fears. These are the kind of feedback that we hear from the women entrepreneurs. But the one thing that we must understand is the benefits far outweigh, the cost, because there is a cost of compliance. There is a cost in keeping your registration going, in ensuring that you pay your taxes on time, etc., etc. But the benefits far, far outweigh the costs. And so therefore, ensuring that you have business registration. Most companies, most government schemes or specialized schemes will not even recognize if you did not have, say, for instance, a business registration. And what that provides you is access to lower cost of capital, right? So you would have a return, a rate of interest, which is probably far affordable if you had a business registration, etc. Of course, once you have the formalized your own documentation, it's also very, very important to understand. You would of course approach a financial institution you would ask them for the credit, and they would give you a credit form to fill up, and how to ensure that we fill it up carefully, and most importantly, for signing, ensuring that we understand what we are signing for. Much of feedback that actually comes ground up is also that I don't know. I just went by what what they said. I just signed it. But did this help was available to you? Did you reach out to so and so in the branch or in the center to actually explain the terms? No, I was too intimidated. I'm very happy that I'm getting a loan, so I don't want to be asking any more questions, because what if I ask questions and my loan gets rejected? Now, these are some of the very genuine kind of questions and fear that women nano or a micro entrepreneur has. But it is your right to read, and it is very important to understand what we read. And building off on this, once we understand the process, moving on to the next slide, we have to understand, as I said earlier, making a reference, please, we can empower ourselves as micro entrepreneurs if we understand the kind of benefits that are available in our respective markets. So be it a credit scheme, which allows you access because you belong to a certain industry, because you belong to a certain geography. Even within a country, you have special zones which then become eligible for certain kinds of loans, etc., etc. So how to be aware of the benefits and the credit schemes for your industry, for your geography, and as a woman, all of these have significant benefits. So knowing equipping ourselves with this information is important. The second piece is about credit guarantees. We are doing a ton of work in India, and we plan to take it across to Africa as well, which is the credit guarantees, as you know, are given to institutions, typically the lending institutions, so that, they lend to actual, the people that who otherwise would not be able to access this, who lack collaterals, etc., who lack credit history, etc. So credit guarantees are offered to institutions precisely for this reason. A lot of times, this information either is ignored or is not available to the last authority who is actually involved in the issuance of the loan. So having a conversation with the people that are involved in the loan to say that, do you know that lending to me makes you eligible to take this credit guarantee from XYZ, is a very powerful way of ensuring that we get the loan that we deserve. So how do you understand whether you qualify for such guarantees, etc.? These credit guarantee schemes are typically given by development institutions in your respective geography. And when you actually Google and type credit guarantee schemes in your country, these things will open. And when you actually look at the member lending institutions that have actually taken the credit guarantee, you will understand which lending institution you can approach in order to take these loans. So knowledge such as this gives you very good negotiating power with your lending institution. Important for you to equip yourself. The last one, but not the least, and you all know this, is leveraging and really having your voice amplified. So being a part of women's groups, federations, small scale, it could be an industry of small scale retail. It could be an association of a particular trading business, trade, etc. All of that gives us, the collective voice gives us the leverage that we sometimes as individuals will lack. But the minute we are a part of these, this provides us with the leverage to go and negotiate as well with these lending institutions. Moving on to the next slide, please. And of course, once we know what the schemes are, we know which institute to approach and what to talk to them. We then need to do our homework. And this is a very important step. What should my loan size be? Not taking loan for the sake of, it's okay to have an extra float because I don't know when I will get the next, all mistakes, right? So how do you really calculate the loan amount? Because it really depends on your ability to service this loan. So, not to be over leveraged, understanding the purpose, because the purpose of the loan actually has a bearing sometimes on the schemes that you become eligible for, and probably lower rates, etc., etc. And of course, understanding the product completely. Are there any hidden fees? Is there any collateral requirement that will come to you later on? And of course, understanding the loan tenure, the repayment schedule, documentation, processing, all of these are so critical before we actually avail the credit. Some of these may sound very basic, but oftentimes when we actually interact with the micro nano entrepreneurs, we realize that lack of discipline at the beginning when you're taking the loan, sometimes it just sets you up to fail. We are over leveraged or we are under leveraged. We don't have money. We are like, struggling, and the next round of capital is going to come later. And so I'm like struggling at this size. So these are actually very important steps before we actually avail the credit. Moving on to the next slide, please. And so I think this is an easy one. I'm sure everybody will know. Given that what we spoke about productive and not productive credit earlier, we know that this is really not one of the things is not a good way to manage our credit. Making consistent. I mean, I think the answer is fairly clear. Shopping for personal items is definitely not going to add to our, either our credit score or managing our credit, right? Can we move on to the next one? So we basically summarized, so one is accessing credit. And then the second piece, if you recall, was how do we, now that got yeah, thank you. Now that we have accessed credit, manage it the right way. So therefore, the do's and don'ts of managing credit is what has been is what has been captured in this slide and the next one. So the do's of managing credit, of course, is be aware, and the don'ts, of course, is in terms of one very important part on the do's of managing credit is all about credit score, and I will detail that in a little in just about a slide away. How to ensure, don't keep it till the last minute, etc., etc. All of these are very, very important do's. The second bit is on the don'ts. And when you move on to the don'ts, the next slide, please. I think one mistake that commonly gets made is maxing your credit limit on your credit card. That's actually bad behavior. And I'm sure Pat here in this call will tell us about, how, credit card companies view that behavior. So, we shouldn't be. That actually leads to bad credit score. Paying our bills late, and so on and so forth. And of course, the simple, don't share your card number on your over phone or any of your bank details over phone. Don't substitute credit for income. And also how to be clear when you want to use what kind of loan. So what type of loan is suitable for the needs that you have? Because the credit has multiple products. It could be for working capital, it could be for term loan, it could be for invoice processing, all kinds of products exist. But what is it that you need to avail? That suitability of the product is a very important aspect. And so term versus the type of loan is a very important decision also to make. Can we move on? Yeah, so credit score, I briefly touched on it, and I'm sure it's amazing, at least in the interiors of India when we travel and when we have conversations around credit, and when we ask, do you know what your credit score is? And I'm stunned most of the time when women actually rattle out their credit score. People understand now that that credit score and managing a credit score is a very important criteria for accessing credit. And you have all of these bureaus in India. These are the kind of bureaus that maintain your score. In Africa, for instance, it's TransUnion, Experian, etc., that manage your score. So I'm sure you have a familiarity to the credit score organizations, and therefore what your credit score is. It is your right to know, and in most cases, it's a very minimal amount or free to figure out what your score is. And maintaining that score is so critical. Or improving the score if it's not great is equally important. Why is it important? Because a better credit score equals to better rate of interest. A better credit score is equal to more capital. A better credit score is equals to understanding how you as a professional are managing your business. For all of these reasons, it's very, very important to have your eye on your credit score. This is very important. Yeah. And can we move on to the next one? Along with credit score, there are a couple of other things that is also going to help us manage our business better. And in this, I cannot overemphasize the need to have relevant insurance products. It could be a business insurance. It could be a simple health insurance. Insurance is very critical when we run business, and especially if we are a nano micro entrepreneur and it's a one person kind of a business, managing the health, managing the well-being of the individual, along with managing the well-being of the business through the relevant business insurance becomes very crucial. Also, other things that you should want to consider is, what are the payment solutions? Which is the most cost-effective payment solution in your market? How do I invest whatever surplus that I generate? What makes sense for me to, what is the kind of product that makes sense for me to invest in? We already touched upon mentorship and networking, but the piece around business management and financial capability is again an important piece, and we can move on to the next one. In Women's World Banking, this is a framework for what we believe are important skills for managing your business, from business planning, which is basically to figure out, what is the vision that you have for your business, to very basic bookkeeping. Do we understand what is bookkeeping and how to do it? To customer and business management, understanding the digital platform for market reach, market expansion, and how to use digital payment, in a safe and secure manner. Can we move on?
Dear Kalpana, would it be possible, for the purpose of time, we do include in the next 1 minute? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the time check. And so right on time, actually, Liz, I'm in my last slide. And so therefore, this really is what we want you to understand. One is, of course, understand the types of credit. What do you need to be doing to ensure that you get credit from an empowered position where you actually demand the credit, from the financial institutions, for which you need to stay informed, prepare, and plan. Understand your value through your credit score, and of course, maintain absolute hygiene in terms of validating and credit discipline. We believe that all of this will help us not just access credit from institutions, but access it the right way and in the way that you want it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear Kalpana. And I know Women's World Banking also had a very interesting video that I think I think we can share it in the chat so you can access it later. For the purpose of time, I think we might close the session to now move on to investment and give the floor to Live. Thank you so much, Kalpana and Her. And for any questions, please feel free to pass them through the chat box, so either can be answered through the chat or at the end during the Q&A session. Live, the floor is all yours. And thank you very much, Kalpana.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me as well. Both ITC and to Visa and Kalpana, it was really informative listening to your presentation all on credit. So I'll just quickly dive into the investment side and hopefully give you a bit of context. Perhaps I'll start off just by introducing myself. I am, you heard my intro. I think I'll just caveat that to say as well that, I have experience as an investor as well, investing in female entrepreneurs in Africa. And so any opportunity I can get to share some of the inside knowledge, I'm happy to. So we can move to the next slide, please. So I won't go into too much detail onto who we are as 2X Global. I'm happy for you to move to the next slide and just speak at a higher level. But from 2X Global, basically we're a membership organization and building the field of gender finance. So our goal is to work with investors, work with ecosystem players in terms of how can we shift the landscape more from a strategic point of view, so that we can see shifts of capital to folks like you, female entrepreneurs at the end of the day. So the main goal, we do a lot of things. We build capacity with fund managers. We look at how are we advancing standards within the investor space, and then what are some strategic initiatives we can promote in the field to actually move more capital to you as female entrepreneurs. So moving to the next slide, please. This just gives you a snapshot of who we have as membership. So you can see, quite a few names on there. We're fortunate to have Visa Foundation as a partner that we work with quite closely. You'll see some other big banks and investors, but this just gives you the type of, interaction we're having at this bigger scale, or at this other level in terms of how we are influencing capital providers to change things like policies, to look at what are the products and services they're actually able to offer. And specifically with gender lens investors, how are they taking the real considerations of female entrepreneurs into account when they're looking at designing things like investment theses? So moving to the next slide, please. I won't talk, Kalpana touched on why we need to invest in female entrepreneurs. I think my last line on the slide just says the crux of it, right? Like gender smart investing is smart investing in and of itself. And that should be the primary goal for all of you. So perhaps, to focus a bit more on perhaps how I can share some insight.
Oh, Libe, I think we lost you.
Yes, might seem that the connection we lost, Live. Live, can you hear us?
I think.
If we move on to the
Okay.
next slide.
Hi, Libe. Sorry,
what
we lost you. We lost you in the past minute. Can you hear us?
I can see you
Okay, I
reconnected,
think,
Live.
yes, she's reconnecting.
Yes, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, great.
perfect.
So
Thank you.
if we could go to the types of capital and the types of investment, that's where I'll pick it up. Great. So when we're looking at what are the types of capital, a lot of you mentioned already in the chat earlier, you're relying on some of your personal savings. You're looking at approaching friends or family for your support. But then we look at what are some of the other types of capital out there, as Kalpana mentioned, loans and access to credit products is something that's quite prominent, and typically something that a lot of SMEs do approach. And so Kalpana shared some really important information on how to access that credit. Some other sources of capital, I think, we need to highlight as well is when you look at grants, right? Like what are some of the initiatives that have a pool of grant capital allocated to supporting entrepreneurs? And I think with grants, it's also very specific to your local context, right? So if you're an entrepreneur in Lagos in Nigeria, what are some of those, local grassroots Nigerian organizations that have these grants available that you can support? And grant capital obviously has the benefit of not diluting your your ownership as well, right? As a founder. So that's all of these instruments have different types of advantages, and that would be one for grant capital, for example. Similarly, funds from accelerators and incubators. I think those are more aimed at, at companies that are perhaps more in the startup world, right? Like typically the incubator program specifically is aimed more at startups, but we do see, accelerators that are also aimed at female entrepreneurs with businesses more broadly. So what are some of those, in addition to the capacity building, which is so important? What are some of those programs that also have a capital element or a funding element to it? I think we sometimes see some competitions as well, right? Where we have these pitch days where entrepreneurs are encouraged to come and pitch. So what are some of those resources that you could perhaps tap into? Some of the other ones I list on here, angel investors. So depending again on the geography that
Sorry, Libby, I think we're experiencing some connection issues again. Can you hear us? Perhaps you can try and stop the video for a little bit just to maximize the connection.
So hopefully you can all hear me now. I'm back.
Hi, Libe. Yes, yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Much better now.
So I'm hoping I dropped off at the angel investor section, and I can just maybe pick it up from there. Does that
Yeah.
sound okay? Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
So apologies, everyone. I've been struggling with connection issues all day today. So what I was talking about when we look at angel investors, so angel investors are typically individuals who have some capital and are looking to support and invest in entrepreneurs. So so in Africa, for example, we have ABAN, the African Business Angel Network, Rising Tide. They are quite active, particularly in Nigeria. We also have, from the South African context, groups like Josie Angels. And so when we look at these angel networks, they typically have, some kind of events potentially that they open up and they invite entrepreneurs to pitch in. But I think what we could definitely do better as industry bodies is, how do we make those connections, right? Because at the end of the day, access to capital is only informed by someone making that first introduction for you. So I think there's some thinking around how we can tap into that. Venture capital as well, similarly, depending on the type of, investor, they will have a specific focus on different industries, for example. So if you are, in the agriculture space, you definitely want to be more targeted to those investors that are specifically investing in that sector, and really being targeted in your ask as well. So perhaps if I go to the next slide, because I think I just like to touch on a few things on what investors are looking for. So first of all, having a strong business plan is so important. And I've just put on the slide there, what are some of the features that you should really think about focusing on? So definitely having a clear value proposition, right? Explaining to an investor what makes you best suited as a founder to solve this problem. And similarly, what is some of the experience that you have potentially as a consumer that can speak to what makes you best positioned to deliver that? Another element you should consider is look at the market in general, right? Look at who are your competitors, and then also, quite importantly, telling the financial story, right? So if you do have historical financials to provide, that just gives an investor such a more clearer picture of why they should be investing in you compared to another project. And I think, being as to the point as possible. As an investor, these pitch decks and business plans, they come across your desk, and what are the opportunities for yours really to stand out? So I think part of some of the capacity building we could be doing as a supporting organizations is helping just telling your story in a way that really will grab an investor's attention. So again, telling a bit of your history of investment, if you've received investment in the past, that can certainly strengthen your case. And then again, just double clicking on this product market fit. So I would actually love to leave some time for questions. So perhaps the next slide has a few questions, but also happy to open the floor, to some other questions that others might have. So hopefully that wasn't too rushed. I'm happy to answer anything if anything wasn't clear to anyone.
Thank you so much, Liebe. I know it was end of the rush and we're running a little bit out of time, but actually I have received one question, so we can take it. So Jasante is asking, how do you keep your plans more adaptable? Latest requirements in sustainability in business, so new the customer's persona and product change, if you have any advice on this.
So, I mean, business, yes, certainly plans change, things change. So I think what you can have is showing how you've addressed your initial hypothesis and then showing how you've actioned that, right? And should plans change, an investor can still see what you've done in the past and how it addressed that problem at the time. So I think we all need to plan for this types of flexibility. But I think if you can show in your history how you responded to the need, and then showing as well that, you may have had a roadmap for your product, for example, but responding to the needs now requires a different strategy. And what are some of those, what other skills do they need to pull in to answer those questions? So hopefully that in a nutshell answers your question.
Thank you very much. And I know we only have 3 minutes left. If okay with everyone, if you can put your questions through the chat box, either for Kalpana and Live, and we will try to maximize the 2 minutes that we have with them writing through the chat box, while at the same time, I also share with you the launch for the mentoring sessions. Because I know some of you will have to leave in the next 2 minutes. And I can see some questions going there, Live and Kalpana. If you could have a look and answer some of them. And what I can also propose for those that goes unanswered, we will be collecting, and then we will be sharing with them, and we'll be sharing back with you along with the recording of this session. And well, also to maximize the time that we have left, we will issue a poll to get your feedback on this webinar. So there will be a poll showing through everyone's screen, and I'll kindly request you to share with us your feedback. This is very important for us to improve how we deliver sessions as well for upcoming opportunities. Next, please. And I know I promised today is the day where we're launching a mentorship opportunity for you. So very quickly, I'm very excited to share what this is about. We have put together in partnership with Visa the time of Visa experts to get matched with you if you're looking for mentorship in digital banking or payments, digital marketing, and market access and strategy. So if you would like to benefit from this opportunity, what is it that you need to do? You need to fill up the application to this survey, and the selection criteria is the following: that you have at least attended one session of this webinar series, which if you are here, that's a check already. Being a women-led business, that for us is 25% of leadership or over 50% of ownership. You can have a look at the definition that we use, that is a standard definitions of women entrepreneurship, through as well the links on that are provided in the survey. Also, being an active member of the SheTrades community, so have a registration on our platform, completing the ITC and Visa self-assessment tool, being a legally registered business, having running a business for at least 1 year, that you're looking to export, or that you're exporting already, and you are motivated and can dedicate the time to receive mentorship. Next, please. This is maybe a part where it will take you a little bit more of time to complete the assessment tool. This is an assessment that we have created together with Visa that is designed particularly to support you on assessing what is your level of competitiveness on different competences. So it is a self-assessment survey that you can access through the platform, through the link that we have here on screen. And it's a survey that will be asking you questions related to very focused particularly for this assessment. If you using digital payments, if you what's the level of your understanding on how to use your business information, for example. So it will allow you to also give us a comprehensive report on what's your level of competitiveness on marketing, on strategy, on financial, that will also support our mentors to better guide the support and the mentorship advice that they will give to you. So very important, and just the fact that it will take you around 1 hour to fully reply to it. So take your time, and if you need any help, we have created a guide for you, and of course you can email us. With this said, next please. I close with the link to the survey. We will also be sharing this after this, and you will have until 12th of July to apply. If you have any question, please also share with us. Live has to go right now. Thank you so much for your time, and as well, Kalpana. It has been very informative, as I can see as well from the comments. And I'll pass it to Pat in case you would like to have any final remarks before we close the call.
No, I think we've had a lot to think about already. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. I wouldn't hold you much longer. Please do consider applying for the mentorship program. And even if you don't apply for the mentorship program, take the self-assessment tool. We do believe it's very helpful to see what is it that you may need to develop to grow your business. So we highly encourage you to do so. If you haven't already taken screenshots of the QR codes, please do so now. And the links to the surveys are also in the chat group, in the chat. And if I could ask the ITC team to put the links for the tool and the mentorship opportunity in the chat as well, I think that will be beneficial for everybody. But again, thank you so much. Thank you, Kalpana, and thank you, Liba, for your time sharing your expertise with us. And thank you to all the entrepreneurs who are online today and joining us.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everyone. I'll be pasting here the links to the self-assessment tool, and we will be sharing as well these links through email as well, just in case you haven't taken the time yet. We will leave this open so you can get the chance to screen it, but thank you all very much. It has been a really wonderful to share this webinar series with you, and we look forward to receiving your applications for the webinar series. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. Au revoir, no parle pas anglais.